Good evening, I hope everyone's well today. This video is going to be a bit different to the ones I normally do, and first of all I want to give every one of my subscribers a big heartfelt thank you. It means a lot that you've subscribed to my channel, and it means a lot that you'll give me the time of day. It really does, and hopefully I do come across as authentic and genuine. I don't necessarily say things that you will agree with or you will like, but I will always give you my unbiased opinion and honest thoughts on matters of interest to me, and I think to people in the country as well. What I wanted to do with this video is I want to go through quite a few people, both online and a few in the main media, that I wouldn't say I aspire to, because I think we're all equal under the king, obviously. God save the king. But these are people that I would give the time of day to. And if I was monarch, not that I'm saying I could overthrow the king, I want to be clear on that because I don't want to be arrested. Okay? This is just a hypothetical. This is just me having a laugh. This is me just giving my opinion. Okay? Please, Charles, don't send them after me. Thank you. Okay, with that in mind, I'm going to start and I'm going to go through a list of people that I've got here that, as I say, I've met some of them and I've had interactions with others online, and they all mean something to me, and I don't want to get all sappy, but they all mean something to me, and because I've been following all of their careers, and I've got a lot of time for them. I really do, because I do think that they're all very genuine people. So, with that in mind, I'm going to start with Clarkson, Jeremy Clarkson. I think he's so funny. I've been watching him since Top Gear, and I've not actually watched much of Clarkson's farm, but he has put a spotlight on the agriculture of the United Kingdom and the challenges that they face. They don't make any profit. So when the government's going to come after them and take the land off them through inheritance tax, that's the plan. They're going to be taking the land because they don't make enough money to actually give them money. So I've got a lot of time for Clarkson, and I've got a lot of time for his no-nonsense attitude, especially towards celebrity. So Clarkson would be in my cabinet if I was appointed in the cabinet, and he'd be in charge of the farming industry and food security for the United Kingdom. So Clarkson, big shout out to Clarkson. So we'll start there. Who have we got next? The Gabby Cabbie. He's a YouTube personality. I think his first name's Andy. Again, working class chap by the look of it, just like me. He's got his own channel. He's got his own following. Got a lot of time for him. And he has a lot of salient points. And he puts it across in a layman's terms. He puts it across in terms that people that aren't educated may be able to relate to better. I will never call anyone stupid, because I don't think anybody's stupid, and I don't think people are mentally challenged, and I don't think people are willfully stupid, especially people who are right-leaning politically. Even most left people, I think they are well-meaning people. So a lot of people will watch channels like mine and other channels because we don't condescend to people, and we never would. We're not politicians. So Gabby Cabbie gets a shout out, and he would be in the cabinet without a question. My dream cabinet for the United Kingdom. Let's move on. Charlie Peters. He's one of the young journalists over at GB News. He's obviously on the right, probably what would be classed by the mainstream media as far right. He's one of the, well, he was the only journalist at a recent South Asian grooming gang sentencing, and I find it astounding that no one else in the media wanted to cover that story. But GB News did, and he's the reason why. I've got a lot of time for him. And once again, he's in the media. You could class GB News as the mainstream. His heart's in the right place, and he seems like a good lad. So he'd be in the cabinet without a question. Paz 49. I believe he's ex-military. He's from Wales. He lives in England. And again, he's a good guy. And it comes across in videos when people are being authentic and people are being genuine and they're just giving their thoughts and feelings. It comes across. He's got a big heart and he's obviously a true patriot. True red, white and blue. And maybe a bit of green because he's from Wales. But yeah, Paz 49, big shout out. A lot of time for him as well. I watch a lot of his content, a lot of his videos. I recommend that you watch him if you're not already subscribed. Very good man. Let's move on. Daisy Cousins. A lot of people may not know about Daisy. Okay, she's no nonsense and she is a monarchist and she is from Australia. So I am calling out a few people from the colonies, from the Commonwealth. I'm leaving America out of it. Daisy Cousins, Cousins with an E. She has got her own YouTube channel. I believe she used to appear on Mark Stein when he was on GB News. But I've got a lot of time for Daisy as well. She is a good egg and I'd recommend that you watch her channel. So shout out to Daisy and shout out to the colonies as well. Represent, that's what I say. Well done, Australia. Alistair McConaughey, I think his name is. He's from a Force for Good. He's a pro-Union, pro-Scotland page. He is right-wing, right of centre. I've met the man during the Scottish referendum campaign in 2014. Bought me a few drinks. I'd done a few days campaigning for the Union up in Scotland with him after interacting with him online on Facebook and whatnot on the pro-Union side. I would have him in charge of the Union between Scotland and England. It'd be in safe hands with him and he would be in the cabinet. So big shout out to one of my fellow travellers, Alistair. Well done, mate. Keep up the good work and subscribe to his Force for Good page if you're not already subscribed. So shout out to Alistair. Connor Tomlinson. Relatively new to the online space. He is a Lotus Eater, so be warned. He's good. He's a bit wet round the ears. I feel he has a lot to learn. He can come across as a bit idealistic and naive. He will learn with the time, but I've got a lot of time for Connor. I really do. Again, he needs to be a bit, in my opinion, he'd win more people over who was a bit less forceful, but he's really good at what he does. This isn't a talk time video to any of these people because they would not be in my cabinet if I didn't respect all of them immensely. So shout out to Connor, keep up the good work, mate, and yeah, stick with Lotus Eaters and you will do very well, in my opinion, so well done. Dan Tubb, I think his surname is. Another Lotus Eater. Brokenomics, I think his speciality is. He's good with money. Or, let me rephrase, he appears to be good with money. He talks a good game. I don't know if I'll trust him with a mortgage, but I probably would. And definitely over anybody that's ever been elected as Chancellor in the United Kingdom. Definitely. So he'd be my Chancellor. He'd be in charge of the British economy. Definitely. 100%. Good man. Good egg. Nice, right-leaning politician. In charge of the purse strings for the United Kingdom. So well done, Dan. You've made an impression. Well done. Right. Who's next? Bo Dade. The ill-fated Reform UK candidate who is also a Lotus Eater. He would be in charge of defence. He'd be a very good defence secretary. A lot of time for him. Very learned. No one's perfect, but yeah, he's very, very good. He comes across as, how do I say that? Smart without appearing condescending, is what I would say about good old Bo. He's really good. He's of my generation. Down south. Nobody's perfect, unfortunately. But yeah, another good egg from the Lotus Eaters. Lotus Eaters. Lotus Eaters. There we go, get that word out. So, another one to watch. Dubes. Michelle Dubes from GB News. She's probably the best presenter on GB News as an all-rounder. Easy on the eyes, on the money with most of her takes, very based, very likeable. And again, common sense touch. She appears to have a heart of gold, and I would buy her own pub if I could afford to, because I think she'd be a great landlady of a pub, in my opinion. I really do. She's got a really good show on GB News. I recommend you watch it. Right. Douglas Murray. I do like Douglas. I like Douglas Murray a lot. He says a lot of base things. He's very, very learned. He's a bit too intellectual for my tastes, but because he's so intellectual, and he can come across as arrogant, but he's got the goods to back it up. So if someone's arrogant, but they've got the goods behind it, I see it as less of a problem, it's more of an asset. So he would be in my cabinet without a question. So shout out to Douglas. He may be a bit pro-Israel for some people's tastes, or a bit too pro-Israel for somebody's taste, or some people's taste. It's not a deal breaker for me. So Douglas, he would be my cabinet. So well done, mate. You made the cut. Right. Who's next? Priti Patel. What can I say about Priti Patel? I've always liked Priti Patel. She's a based conservative. She's a dry. She's not a wet. So well done, Priti. You made the cut. You got a cheeky grin. You're great. I do love Priti Patel. I especially liked her stance on capital punishments, how she wanted to reinstate capital punishments in the UK, before she was told that that view was no longer palatable. And if you wanted to be in a Conservative Party, you can't really be spouting that stuff anymore. So that's my biggest problem with the Tories. They don't allow the Tories to be Tory, which is why I'll never vote Tory again. But Priti Patel, she's one of the good ones. She would be in my dream cabinet, definitely. And I'd put her in charge of legal. She'd be probably Secretary General or something like that. That's my opinion on that one. Right, who's next? Harry Robinson. He's probably the best Lotus Eater on the Lotus Eaters. He's based as fuck, pardon the language. He's probably the most right-leaning Lotus Eater. It may be the others are just keeping their powder dry and they're not being as right-leaning as they actually are. But he speaks as he finds. He's from the north. I think he's just down the road from me. Absolutely fabulous, representing the north. He'd be a much better Deputy Prime Minister than the Ginger Growler, Traynor. But we'll leave that one there. But yeah, substitute Traynor for this chap and we'd be in a better position. So he would be my Deputy Prime Minister. And on the side, I'd have him in charge of entertainment. Let's move on. Isabelle Oakshott. I think she goes out with Tice if they're not engaged. So she's part of the reform movement. She's very based. They're all very based on my list, you'll find that. They're all extremely, extremely based because I'm based and I want to be with based people. You want to be with people that have got the same mindset as you, especially if you're running a government. And if I was king, then these would be my ministers. So yeah, of course, we're going to be on the same page. Isabelle Oakshott came to my attention predominantly because she was always the token right-winger on Question Time during Brexit. So that's when she came to my attention. So yeah, she'd be there definitely. She'd be doing press releases for me or something like that. Let's move on. Hello there. We've got Jeff Taylor. Again, he comes across as a lovable grandad type. Very based, very well spoken, always well presented, always comes across as concerned. And that's what we all should be with our country, concerned. A lot of time for this guy. Again, he's got his own YouTube channel. I'd recommend that you watch it. Let's move on. Julia HartleyBrewer. She's a great journalist. She's absolutely fabulous. She's probably the best one on Talk TV. No nonsense, no bullshit with Julia. Don't try and bullshit her. She'll see it a mile off. And she'd be in charge of education. Definitely. She'd sort out the education system. But yeah, she'd be in my cabinet. A lot of time for Julia. I think she's fabulous. Let's move on. Paul Joseph Watson. He'd be in charge of fun and games. I'd have him shitposting, pardon the language, on government websites, partially just to antagonise the media and to antagonise the left. Basically, he'd be throwing out all the crazy ideas in a sarcastic way. And then whichever ones were getting the most volatile reaction from the left, those would be the ones that would pursue as government policy, and that's what I'd have him in charge of doing. That's what I'd have him doing. And from Canada, we've got a Former GB News presenter, Mark Stein. I think he was done dirty on GB News over certain medical interventions. We'll leave that one there. But Mark Stein, got a lot of time for him. I think he's a good man. And yeah, well done Canada for producing a top journalist. Top marks to Mark Stein. Let's move on. Ouran Foster, Dame Ouran Foster from Northern Ireland. I only really started to pay attention to her about 5 years ago, when she was First Minister, maybe a little bit time before then. She lived through the Troubles up in Northern Ireland. She's on the right side of the argument in Northern Ireland. She comes across as so authentic and so real. I'd love to just sit with her for hours and let her regale me. She probably had a remarkable life, a remarkable story, a remarkable journey. She's one of our best in the United Kingdom. Heart of gold and top marks. I do love Ouran Foster. Northern Ireland representing on this channel. Well done, Ouran. Let's move on. Farage. We've got to have Farage in there. I don't know if he'd be Prime Minister or not, but he'd definitely be in my cabinet if I was monarch and I was appointing all these people. He's Mr. Brexit. We wouldn't have got Brexit without him, so he would be in the cabinet in some capacity. I don't know what capacity that would be, but he would be in. He'd be in the mix. He'd probably be an advisor, but he'd be at the table. So, full marks to Nigel. Well done, mate. You made the cut. Let's move on. Katie Hopkins. She would probably be ship hosting with Paul Joseph Watson. I see them as like a double team. They'd do it, and he'd probably do the online stuff, and she'd probably do the media rounds. I'd have her as the spokesperson for the government going out and saying, yeah, this is what we're doing, deal with it, suck it up, buttercups. I'd have her doing that. She's absolutely brilliant. I do love her. She's fabulous. Lovely Katie. Lovely, lovely lady. Remarkable story. Absolutely fabulous. We all love Katie Hopkins. Right, let's move on. Musk, baby. Musk, baby. Right, what we'd have in R&D, research and development, definitely. We'd be improving on our space agency. We would be building another space station. We'd be helping America get to the moon. We'll be pulling back on the electric cars. We've got bigger fish to fry. But yeah, he'd be in charge. Well, not in charge. He'd probably have a team of people in charge for him, but he'd be a consultant to the government. He probably wouldn't accept a cabinet position in the UK, probably, below his pay grade, for example. But he'd probably have consultants. He'd probably send his people in to help us. But I would definitely be bending his ear. And again, he's sort of Commonwealth. So that's sort of his British roots, and he's South African as well. So technically it's sort of breaking my rule, but no, I'd have Musk in the mix. Gotta have Musk in the mix. Got to. Let's move on. This one is Rea Panahi. She is probably the most based journalist in Australia. Everyone hates Sky News in the UK. If you do not watch Sky News in Australia, watch Sky News in Australia for her. She's great. I would have her as a Commonwealth consultant, a bit like Daisy Cousins. I'd have her in charge of like public relations with Commonwealth countries such as Australia, Canada and New Zealand. So yeah, she's great. She's a lovely lady, absolutely fabulous. Let's move on. Leo Kearse. Scotland represents the United Kingdom, and Scotland represents me in my cabinet through Leo Kearse. He's a great comedian. He's such a funny guy. If you don't watch him on GB News, you need to watch him on GB News. I think he's great. He's so base and he's so funny, and he's got no time for the SNP. And that's enough reason for him to be in my cabinet. So there we go. Shout out to Leo Kearse. Leo Kearse, you are a legend in your own lifetime, and you can take that to the bank. Let's move on. June Slater, Queen of the North. I've never met this lady. She comes across as a lovable grandmother, and she probably is a lovable grandmother. She says a lot of wonderful things. She probably helped a lot of wonderful people that just want to get on with their lives and want government to leave us the fuck alone. Pardon the language. Lovely lady. She's got a lovely channel. She's had a spot of fraud on interwebs with her channel. Big shout out to June. I think she's great. 5 out of 5 for her podcast and her channel. She's such a wonderful woman. Let's move on. Preston Journalist. What can I say? I don't think he likes me. I don't know why. I do not know why. I've got this vibe that he doesn't like me. Ask him. If anyone is a member of his channel, that's a member of my channel, ask him if he likes me or he hates me. I don't know. Out of all of these people that I've got on my, he's the only one that I've got this. I don't even think it's paranoia. I think he doesn't like me. But I like him because he fights for Scotland and he fights for the Union. He's one of us, he's one of me because he's from the north. Again, a little wet round the ears. He's young. So he's going to go into his channel and a bit more. He's going to learn with experience. I'll tell you now, never trust anybody that you meet on the internet unless you know them in person. Rule number 1. Okay, I'll just put that out there. Words to the wise for future. That's just my opinion on that. But yeah, he'd be in my cabinet. He would be in charge of employment. I think he's great. I do watch his channel. So yeah, Preston Journalist, shouts out for you. Well done. Why don't you like me? Anyway, we'll move on. Right, Tim Stanley. I've got a lot of time for Tim. He is mainstream, and he is a Tory. Again, nobody's perfect. Now the thing with Tim, he's probably the most based of the wets. I don't think he's a dry Tory. I think he's a wet. And I don't know, out of nostalgia, I'd probably have him in the cabinet. Just to say that I haven't got an entirely based cabinet, I'd probably have Tim Stanley. He comes across as very likeable, he comes across as well learned, and he comes across as based as fuck. But he is a wet. But he would be in there because I do have a lot of time for Tim. So let's move on. Right, this one's a bit different. We've got a problem. It's a bit different because it's a Faceless YouTube channel. But they are based, they're really, really funny. And so they could technically not be in the cabinet because the Faceless, and that's the way that they want it, and that's the way that they are. So because the Faceless, they'd be on like these big like computer screens, you know, like we just like Zoom call them in and you've got them on screens. Well, you've got the logo on screen and they just give advice. So yeah, we got a problem. Shouts out here from Cheshire Cat Musings. Well done. Keep fighting the good fight. You're doing a great job. Thank you for everything that you do. Dan Woolton. Now, I've got a bit of a interesting take with Dan Woolton. I never had much time for Dan. And the reason why I never had much time for Dan is because he was very anti-Michael Jackson. And he was very, very sure that Michael Jackson was a predator. I know that Michael Jackson wasn't a predator. Some things you know, okay? Like, you know, Brexit was for the best. You know that Trump is for the best. You just have a feeling with some things and you need to go with your gut instincts. Like, I know there is no difference between the Labour Party and the Tory Party. I've lived through enough governments to know that there is literally no difference between the two. It's the same thing with Michael Jackson. You just know. And I know that he was a good man and I know that he was innocent. So when you get people like Dan, who go on the TV, start bashing Michael Jackson, saying, no, 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 he is guilty as sin, he just got off with it. He had to win me over. And he did win me over. And the reason why is because he had this interview on GB News a few years ago with Megyn Kelly. And Megyn Kelly basically set him straight on the whole Michael Jackson thing. I love Megyn Kelly, she's probably the best journalist in America. But this isn't about Americans because this is about Britain and the Commonwealth. But he climbed down and he actually apologised because he said he got it wrong. And I've got a lot of respect for somebody who can go so public one way and then go so public the other way and actually acknowledge they've made a big, big, big mistake. So yeah, he would be in my cabinet as well. He would probably be in charge of media regulation. Media regulation. I'd probably have him in charge of abolishing Ofcom. That'd be my opinion. Or maybe something that is actually there to regulate the media, but actually do it in a balanced way. But you don't actually have to have balance, you just have to have equal coverage for each side. So say, for example, you've got 7 hours of media time for news channels, or in your schedule you've got 7 hours, then there's got to be 3.5 hours for right and 3.5 hours for left. That would be my opinion. Okay, I would end the media slant on the right and make sure that it's equal. Don't have to have balance on every show, but it would need to be equal, and I'd have Dan in charge of that. Okay, so Dan, shout out for you. Well done for seeing sense. Let's move on. Paul Thorpe. He came on to my attention a couple of years ago, maybe during lockdowns, I think it was. He comes across as a bit confected, but this is about positive vibes, this is about positive energy, so there's no real criticism here. He's on our side, he's one of the good guys, he's got a huge channel, he's got a huge following, well deserved, all power to you. I've been to a few of your rallies, nothing like the media was depicted. I do agree that Tommy has been done dirty. He may have done bad things in the past, who hasn't? But yeah, Paul Thorpe, well done, mate, well done. Shout out from Cheshire Cat here, so thank you. Esther McVey, I love Esther, I think she's great. I've seen her on Talk TV, I've seen her on GB News. She's based as hell, she's even been on loads of seasons. She's a really good lady, she's a remarkable person, and 5 out of 5, I think she's absolutely great. So yeah, Esther McVey, she would be in my cabinet as well. She's probably in charge of foreign affairs, non-Commonwealth foreign affairs, that's where I'll put Esther. And finally, we'll give that Yakle Fellow a place in the cabinet, probably a consultant of some kind, probably in charge of overhauling the justice system. Yeah, I'd have him in charge of corrections, maybe head screw in Pentonville prison or something, you know, something on the ground level, shop floor, who's actually making sure the screws are doing the job correctly. I'd have them doing something like that. And then, obviously, I've got to give my 2C a shout out. He'd probably be in charge, or he'd probably be my go-between, between myself being the monarch and my government and the press. He'd probably be working in some capacity with Katie Hopkins on it. There'd be my day-to-days. But the difference with Maya is he'd be my go-between between my government and the comms. That's what I've Maya doing. So yeah, this one's long-form content for me, longer than I'd normally do. But this is a thank you to each of the people I've mentioned in this video. All of you are brilliant. All of you are doing God's work. I'm so glad that this is my cabinet, and I'm so glad that each of these people is on my side. Because when I look at the competition of the people on the other side, I don't want to say we're fighting a culture war, and I don't want to say that we're fighting a war between left and right. It's not really a war, because that would suggest that both sides have an equal chance of winning. That's not true. When you've got this talent and you've got these people on my side, it's only going one way, and it's not a war. It really isn't. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, give me a like and subscribe. I will see you in the next video. This is Damien at Cheshire Cat Musings. You have a good evening and thank you for watching.